All right, everybody, quit having fun. Now, normally there'd be somebody else making these introductions, but he graciously allowed me to stand up here and screw around in his presence. But I can't keep him off stage for one whole night, so I would like to introduce you to the man and or the legend, David Nesbitt.
And it's always that moment when you get that sort of intro where you're like, yeah, no pressure.
Hey, you could be one or the other, just choose.
And or the other, yeah. Let me move this shit out of the way. I've got my push mills up here already, so I'm pretty much set for that. Where the hell was I? Oh, I was on stage and talking to people and thinking about stuff and watching as people were performing. Ellen, about the evolutionary thing and about how we suck. And you too. With the toddlers and tiaras thing. Allow me to just wipe the slate with some of this stuff, so let me begin with the basics. Okay, back in the day when I hung out with junkies, it made me feel better as a human being, but I didn't tell people I did it, so please stop advertising that fucking show. And Ellen, on some levels we suck, but you heard me talk about this before, and I'm going to riff on it again today. And that is, I want to talk about the basics and the elements of what I tend to think of as real greatness. And so some of you in the audience heard me talk about this on Monday. There's going to be some refinements, there's going to be this, but there's a whole bunch of people who didn't hear this, and hopefully you will find it entertaining, maybe you might find it inspiring. I'm really hoping it will not cause any of you to throw a bottle at me. Okay, that'll work. I will share in your bukkake experiment. I am not above some things. Anyone who said otherwise is just lying.
It's hard to be when you're on your knees.
Yeah, that too. Back to the hanging out with junkies thing again. But for me, one of the things I get to do from time to time is I work at Metro Community College, and there's a really interesting set of experiences that kind of go with that. One of them is the idea that I get to sit around and help the students working on their projects, and I get to go, okay, you've got this great idea, and I can help you realize this great idea. And if I'm really, really lucky, the gods will smile down upon me, and I can actually help you make it better. And that makes my day. I love helping somebody meet what they want to do or exceed it. That right there is just one of the things that will totally make any day better than what it was before. Now, on the other hand, the other thing that I get to see from time to time is what I like to think of as complete and utter willful ignorance. And I was kind of reminded of that as I was walking, coming back from, grabbing coffee or something, and I'm heading back to the things, and I'm seeing these kids walking out of a history class. And one of them made a comment that almost reflexively caused me to punch him in the face. And apparently he had left his history class, he had not done particularly well in his test, and the thing that he said as he came out was, why should I give a fuck who Jonas Salk is? Good, so there are some people who get the reference. For the rest of you who don't, I will explain. Some of you may have heard of a disease called polio. Polio is a motherfucker of a disease. It causes your nervous system to break down. It causes your muscular system to degenerate. It is horribly painful. It causes people to die or to be crippled, and it killed hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people a year, pretty much throughout, the whole of the 18th century up until about the mid-1950s. And then along came a gentleman by the name of Jonas Salk, who spent a long, long time researching polio, and eventually he came up with a vaccine. And as a result of this vaccine, you don't hear about polio anymore. Now, that's the beginning of true greatness. Somebody who will put the time and the effort in to sit around and go, there's this amazing, massive problem. I should probably do something about it. The second part of true greatness comes in this. And that is the very notion that not only did he do all of this, but he gave it away. He could have said, hi, I would like a royalty for every time you get vaccinated and you get vaccinated and you get vaccinated, I'll get a penny. But his theory was that if it's one penny causes you not to get vaccinated and possibly get or spread that disease, or you, then that is too much money. And you know what? I got paid for being a doctor. I got paid reasonably well for this. And I own the patent. So you know what? I will not collect that royalty. And even more importantly, nobody else will either. And so he effectively made it that much, less expensive, was able to cause billions of people to not get this disease. That to me is true greatness. That's like the very basic function of true greatness, is that you cause the world to shift and change around you. And my problem is with the toddlers and tiaras thing or some other stuff that I see on a regular basis is that we as a society get hung up on, what I tend to think of as fireworks greatness. It's the guy who makes the great football catches, the guy who has this incredible video. Chris Brown. Yeah, that too. Chris Brown, the guy who was married to Rihanna, smacked the crap out of her, got back with her again, rebuilt his career, got an award. I saw that he had a tweet after he received, it was like an American Music Award or an Emmy or something like that. Not an Emmy, Grammy. And it was something to the effect of, I got this award now all you haters can just go suck it. And I'm like, you don't deserve that attitude. Like, Jimmy Page, and I'm a Led Zeppelin fan, does not deserve that attitude. You have not had the sort of impact where you can just walk around and go, hey, you know what, I did this thing and you can just suck it. No, Jonas Salk did. Alan and I were joking around about this, about hip-hop Jonas Salk walking into a classroom. Like, hey, any old bitches got polio? Yeah, you're welcome to shit. That person deserves that attitude. And it's something that the people who really do the most amazing things, more often than not, don't have that attitude because they don't fucking need it. And I remember the thought of the first person who I ever kind of encountered who had a brush with real greatness. And here's where I have to kind of describe my family. I come from an Irish family. I come from a very, very Irish family. I have Protestants on one side and Catholics on the other. This can make family gatherings a little exciting. We'll get to that in a minute. So amongst some of the things that happen when you have a family gathering is you meet various members of your family. And I have a cousin of mine that I have this sort of relationship with. Oh my. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna like this even better. He and I have this sort of relationship that there is actually a term for it in chemistry. Hypergolic. Hypergolic means that you mix two chemicals together and they spontaneously combust. And so anytime that you get my cousin Darren and I in a room at the same time, expect punches to fly. I have this reaction with no other human being on earth, but it will take seconds and we are throwing down.
You're so hypergalic.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, good job. So we were having this family gathering. My grandfather had passed away. We were at his wake. And at that particular family gathering, and here's where I have to drink something to remind myself of the sensation. I have some Bushmills here.
Drink it.
I still got more of this set to go. I'm not proud. Well, my grandfather had this huge influence in my life. He had been a member of the SAS, which if you're not familiar is the British Special Forces. He'd been with them for like 36 years. And he'd really been instrumental in helping me kind of get myself together and help me to build a life. And so he passed away and they were holding the wake. And some genius decided that what you really need for a great wake is like about 20 cases of Guinness and 5 cases of Bushmills. So I'm sitting there drinking a bottle of Bushmills without benefit of a glass. And it started about here. And by the time Darren showed up, it was about here. So I'm pretty sure that Darren walked in, said hello, and that's when my fist came forward and caught him right in the face. And I became an Irish cliche. Pow! Thud. Cousin unconscious on the floor, congratulations. It's a great moment in my Irish heritage. And that's when I saw somebody coming out of the corner of my eye, and I looked. And it was my uncle, Padraig. Yes, I have come from an Irish family. I have an uncle named Padraig. In case you missed it, I like whiskey. Now, I think that everybody should have someone in their family who is the dodgy uncle. I'm not talking the kind of like, Uncle Feely that's going to put you into therapy for decades. I'm talking the kind of uncle that you hear the stories about, the one that's, I'd say, 1 step ahead of the law and half a step ahead of a girl with a positive test. And this is pretty much the way he leads his life. So to describe Padraig, he served during the 1919 Irish Revolution with a gentleman by the name of Sean McBride. You'll hear this information again. Well, after a while of being in the Irish Army, some guns went missing. His name was kind of attached to it, and it was probably a good idea for him to leave the fucking country. So he left Ireland, went to France, joined the French Foreign Legion. Like you do. When you absolutely positively need a passport that's not in your name. Yeah. So he went to the French Foreign Legion, hung out there, fought during the Second World War, fought during the Indochina War, and, then some diamonds went missing, and he kind of had to bail on that one. So he went to Australia, and he joined the army there. And so he served in Korea, and then he served in their initial version of the Vietnam War. And as luck would have it, some gold bullion went missing. And by that particular point in time, those original charges in Ireland had pretty much passed. So he went back there again, and he worked for a gentleman by the name of Sean McBride. Now, Sean McBride is one of those great when you read the background history of the world, when you read the secret history of things, this man is utterly amazing. And I will allow him to tell you why. Because Padre came walking up to me, and it was like, I haven't seen Paddy, and I can't remember when. And Padre walked up to me and said, yeah, boy, you must be David. I haven't seen you in decades. I heard you're about a double fistful of dynamite of fucking trouble. Shit, Paddy's calling me that? This can't be good. Apparently he heard about that Berlin trip. Yeah, but I can arrange it anyway. At this point, the statute of limitations is up. We're all good. So, boy, sit down and let me tell you something. This way it works like this. Here's what you need to know. You constantly keep finding yourself in trouble because you don't know what you need to do. So let me tell you about a gentleman who knew about what it was that he needed to do. My best friend, his name was Sean McBride. And Sean was the chief of staff of the IRA when I was out there fighting alongside gentlemen like Michael Collins and such. And so after we got done and we kicked the Brits out, Sean and I decided that what we needed to do was go out and patrol Protestant neighborhoods because people were taking reprisals on them left, right, and sideways. And we were not fighting to kill Prods. We were fighting for a level playing field. Well, the first president of Ireland, a gentleman by the name of Eamon de Valera, didn't quite see it that way, and instead he threw Sean in jail for 2 years without charging him with anything. And I talked to Sean about it later, and he said, yeah, after about 6 months, I thought to myself, all I want to do is get even with Eamon. All I want to do. And then after those first 6 months passed, I realized that's exactly what's caused every fucking problem in this country for 400 to 500 years. So instead I made a new plan. I'm in here without the benefit of charges. They never charged me. They threw me in jail, solitary confinement, 2 years. This country needs some fucking law. So I went to college, I became a lawyer. And Paddy's sitting there, relating all of this to me. And here's what he did as a lawyer. First thing he did was he managed to get even with Eamon de Valera by suing the shit out of him and walking off with all of his money. Then he became a judge on the World Court. Then he was asked after the Second World War, because Ireland was neutral. And while you wouldn't have found an Irishman that was a big fan of Adolf Hitler, you'd be goddamn you'd find an Irishman who wanted to fight for the fucking Queen again. And so we stayed neutral, and so they figured that was a great place to pick attorneys for the Nuremberg trials. So Sean is on the defense for Nuremberg. Now, if you want to talk about the most thankless jobs on God's good green earth, defending Nazis is about straight up that way. And so, at one point in time, he's sitting down. There's a gentleman by the name of Krupp. He owned a munitions business that supplied all the Nazis with all the guns and this and that. Well, he had been killed at the tail end of the war, but his son was still alive, and the Russians wanted to prosecute him. And this kid's like 13 years old. And the Russians basically said to him, you see, what we think is the young man would like to defend his family name, which is when Sean said, you know what, you're right. He can defend his family name the moment you get out of the hospital, and jumped over a table at it. After that, he decided to perhaps not press charges against the young man. Well, after Sean did all of those with the Nuremberg Tribunal, he then went on to become the first ever UN Commissioner for Human Rights. And then after that, he co-founded an organization called Amnesty International. So Sean started off in a shitload of trouble, fighting left, right, and sideways, broke from the idea of doing what everyone else had ever done in his life. And then he found what it was that he needed to do. And now what you, young man, need to do is find what you need to do. So I stopped, and that's really heavy. I mean, you gotta think about that for a moment. And I looked at Patty at that particular moment, and I said, well, Patty, don't get me wrong. I know a little bit about your history, so I've gotta ask the question. For all of this, for this great example, for these people that you've known Michael Collins, you knew Eamon De Valera, you knew Sean McBride. What do you need to do? Patty stepped back, looked me over. For a second there, I thought I was going to be the next guy in the ground. He said, you know what? Every now and again, a good man who believes in justice, whose job it is to enforce the law and to give everybody a decent representation, needs someone to give him work. Now, boy, let's go out and get pissed. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you, Dave, for reminding us all that we have a lot more to do with our lives. Now, I think someone may have mentioned that we haven't had as much sex here this evening.
I'm sorry.
So, here to start to remedy that, we have Marlo Mapes.
Oh, no pressure. Can I get a little help with the mic stand, please? I'm a little technology challenged. Thank you, sir.
It's this thing we call a screw.
Ah, thank you. Okay, so a few of you have seen this piece before. It's the one that I'm planning on submitting to crack.com eventually. And I was working on a new piece, but these past few weeks have been just ridiculously up and down. So I'm doing this one tonight just because it's kind of a classic that I've had on hand. So to open the piece, this is Wait, There's More by Scott Emmons. Once upon a weekend dreary, while I brooded, eyeballs bleary, watching cheesy videos I'd seen 100 times before, tightly to my beer can clinging, when suddenly I heard a ringing, some incessant ting-a-linging, just outside my chamber door. It's just the telephone, I muttered, just outside my chamber door. Only this, nothing more. Setting down my classic Cheetos by my jalapeno Fritos, dodging heaps of stale Doritos, scattered on my unswept floor. Towards that irksome sound I stumbled, with that ringing phone I fumbled, for my brains were slightly jumbled, as I'd hoisted 3 or 4. Yeah, I said, a little miffed, forgetting up had been a chore. Silence there, and nothing more. Oh, what grave and grim vexation followed from that hesitation, for I knew its meaning, from a million calls I'd had before. Surely this was someone selling vinyl siding for my dwelling, cell phone service, fortune-telling, or vacations by the shore. Some rude telemarketer whose kind all decent folk abhor. Eat my shorts, I duly swore. Back into my chamber turning, temples throbbing, stomach churning. Once again I heard that ringing, too annoying to ignore. Angered to the point of fever, then I lifted that receiver, when a voice like beaver cleaver chilled me to my very core. Hi, it said. My name is Hank. I represent the credit store. Listen up, I'll tell you more. There I stood, morose and glaring, all my sickened soul despairing, mind ablaze with fantasies of murder, mayhem, blood, and gore. Yet my rising wrath restraining, some composure still maintaining. Civilly, I tried explaining that no sales would be in store. I'm not interested, I said. Your scripted pitch, I'll just ignore. Please don't call me anymore. But sir, he said, not hesitating, your outstanding credit rating ought to be rewarded with a deal you've never seen before. From the data we've collected, we can tell you're well respected. Out of millions, you're selected for a credit card called Explore. Act today, and you can get an APR of 6.4. All of this and so much more. Presently, my wrath grew stronger. Pulling punches then no longer. Pal, I said, perhaps I didn't make my meaning clear before. What you're selling, I'm not buying. And if you find that mystifying, here's what I've been long implying. Do not plague me anymore. Strike my number off your list. Your deal's a sham and you're a bore. quoth the caller. Wait, there's more! Now this bold and brazen answer burrowed like a raging cancer, eating at my very soul, if you'll excuse the metaphor. Jerk, I cried. You shameless dastard, are you deaf or are you plastered? Nah, you're just a vicious bastard, as I might have guessed before. Stinking low-life horse's bottom, and your mother is a whore. Quoth the caller. Wait, there's more. Fiend, I shouted, thing of evil, telemarketer or devil, enemy of all that's sacred, all that man and God adore. From this torture most appalling, into madness I am falling. Cease from this infernal calling, and my sanity restore. Find an ounce of mercy in you, and my sanity restore. Quoth the caller. Wait, there's more! Once again this phrase was spoken, and my fragile soul was broken. Shrieking, trembling, sobbing, I collapsed upon my chamber floor. And this caller, ever hawking, still is talking, like some hellish raven squawking on that night's Plutonian shore. And inside my fevered brain, I hear that voice I so deplore, and it echoes, Wait, there's more! So that was Wait, There's More by Scott Emmons, and this is the piece. Thank you, guys. This is the piece that I wrote for submission to Cracked, and this is called The Revenge of the Snark. So those of you that were looking for more of the sexuality-based entertainment, this is where it's gonna be. Woo! All right, so I've always had this nearly morbid curiosity and fascination with the darker corners of humanity, with medical anomalies, ancient torture devices, these obscured and shadowed cultures. And we all know that in modern day, those corners are all conveniently condensed into the internet. So I've spent countless hours conducting mini social experiments, spying on some of the more perplexing forums. So imagine my excitement when one of our other samurai, Esta, told me about FetLife. FetLife, short for Fetish Life, is a social media site arranged similarly to Facebook for the kink community. On your profile, you can list preferences or restrictions for contacting you. For example, mine says that I'm there only to speak with real-life friends and not to bother contacting me if I don't know you. It is, for the most part, a place for members of this community to connect with each other, share information, writing, photography, and offer glimpses of this very fascinating lifestyle. I absolutely absorbed all this new information around me. I became immersed in this culture and this community that was previously foreign. Now, I found one of my favorite gems lately tucked into a forum called Ramblings. It's by an anonymous user titled Master, Mistress, Sir, or Madam, the Rules. And it explains the submissive party's general do's and don'ts towards their dominant partner. Now, to those of you that are unfamiliar with the lifestyle, I think that it summarizes it pretty nicely. Number 1, I will not hum the theme from Jeopardy while Master decides which implement to thank me with. Number 2, I will not annotate Master's to-do list. 3, I will not applaud when Master uses big words. 4, Master's dog does not stink. 5, I promise never to genuflect at Master's erection. 6, Master does not hog the bed. 7, I will not refer to Master's pet cat as snake food. 8, I will not snigger at the pronunciation of Master's commands. I will not perform a ventriloquist act with Master's penis. I will never imitate Master's accent. Master's chair is not to be used to pile my clutter. I will keep my leopard, there we go, little tie-in, my leopard print sheets laundered so that Master will never be subjected to those flowery things. I will not yawn while I'm waiting for Master to climax. I will not chew on my collar. I will not giggle during paddlings. I will not propose letter grades when Master belches. I will not snarl when Master asks me to share my chocolate. I will not tell Master that he has my permission to seduce me. I will not ever say, "Oh, what a good boy," to Master. I will not make shadow puppets in the candlelight while Master is tying me up. I will not critique how Master ties me up. I will not pleasure myself after Master goes to bed and then brag about it later. I will not go out of state while borrowing Master's car during lunchtime. When Master is kind enough to bring me a cup of tea, I will then not refer to him as the tea fairy. No matter how much Master adores me, he will never get on his knees to do so. I will not yell at Master, or change the settings on his alarm clock, no matter how hilarious it would be to see him late everywhere. I will not deliberately mispronounce words to confuse Master. Now, it's very unlikely that he pushed all the covers to my side of the bed because he wanted to shiver all night. If I don't like the settings on Master's car radio, I'm free to drive my own car. I will not ever tell Master to go away. I will not accuse Master of being gay when he arranges his driftwood in artistically pleasing ways, or his candles, or his doilies. I am always the spankee. I am never the spanker. I will keep my greasy fingertips off of Master's computer screen. I will not eat Master's leftovers without permission. When asked how many spankings my misbehavior warrants, I will never answer using fractions. I will not ride on Master's back the night before his doctor's appointment. I will not play connect the dots with Master's freckles. I will not make lengthy to-do lists with Master. You know, on second thought, I will applaud when Master uses big words. This overrides Rule 3. Hooting and whistling, however, is just a bit excessive. Master is the judge of whether or not I am a moron. I will be spanked if I leave the caps off Master's pens. But if it becomes obvious that I'm deliberately leaving the caps off Master's pens, I will not be spanked, no matter how much I beg. A warm Master is a happy Master. And finally, I will not hoot with laughter if Master accidentally whacks himself on the back of the head with the flogger. So they have a lot of writing like that. There's some poetry, some fan fiction, but just with any other social media site, there are some residents here that are less than friendly. You know, those poor, misguided denizens that view a closed profile as an invitation for overtly sexualized, one-sided conversation, chat roulette-style random pictures of genitals, and unwanted, often laughably disgusting offers.
Tell me you were the French judge.
No real identifying factors of substance, just more of the same lumbering, vacant individuals looking for something to satisfy their urges. Now, I'm not entirely sure why they are this way, but I have a theory that at some point, someone must have insulted their penis after midnight, and therefore we have the gremlins, or the trolls, of FetLife. Among their many community pages, FetLife has a group called Return to Sender, where members can post the messages from these gremlins for all to see and enjoy. Names are changed to protect the identity of the creepy. And there are pages and pages of these, often hilariously desperate, poorly worded attempts at hooking up with strangers. I quickly became a daily reader of the site, and I waited, fingers crossed, for my turn to play too. Now, I'm very uptight in general, and I'm kind of proud of it. I'm high protocol, but I definitely have a snarky side to my personality. Now, like most polite people in society, I keep my snark safely tucked away from the general public until she is absolutely necessary. And she hasn't been out in quite some time. But after reading all these stories and realizing the potential, she was practically jumping with excitement. Come at me, gremlins! I need a new verbal scratching post. All will be subject to my rapier wit. You know. I should use this opportunity I should use it more as a learning experience than engaging myself. I mean, there's far better things that I could be doing with my time, but it's 4 a.m. and I have a free internet connection, so what am I really gonna do with that? And then one night it finally happened. I got a message from a dominant male, you know, one of those, I'm so fetish, I shit latex types. One of those little pseudo-kinksters. And he seemed quite enamored with me, despite the fact that my profile's nothing but bare bones. There's absolutely no personal information listed about me. So my snark and I sat with rapt attention, watching this little interaction unfold. Now this is how our oddly short companionship began. Him opens a conversation with a gratuitous picture of genitals. What you think? Snark's interest has been piqued. I mean, seriously, who would open a conversation like that? Like, say you're at a bar and you see a woman you want to talk to, you just open it up and flash her? Like, hey, so what do you think of this? Should we get going now? God, people are bold over the anonymity of a computer screen. But all right, let's see where this goes. Time to release the snark. Well, I can't really tell if that's a penis or a big toe, but I feel like it's probably one of those. Him. Funny. ASL? No, I'm sorry, I don't know American Sign Language, and I'm not really sure how that relates to text anyway. Him, apparently somehow undaunted. Love your pics, love your full body, and you got a nice rack. Which, that's wonderful, because I hate it when strange men only love half of my body. But, Grammar is a lady, and she deserves respect. But at this point, I am far too tired to virtually red pen his sentences. My rack? I don't own one personally, but as far as medieval torture devices go, it's one of my favorites. So, you got a man? You wanna fuck? I am seeing somebody, and no, you can't even possibly fathom the immensity of the fuck that I do not give. Well, why you talking with me then if you got a man? You're probably not happy with him. One night with me will make you mine. On my profile it says not to contact me unless we know each other, and you sent me a message. So I'm talking with you because you initiated a conversation with me. Actually, I am happy with the man that I'm seeing. He's a gentleman. And to be quite honest, I just plain tend to prefer men that have progressed beyond the literary challenges of Dick and Jane. Well, I think that's mean, but can we talk anyway? God, this lonely bastard. What do you want to talk about? I don't know. Read my profile, ask me something. You contacted me, and since you couldn't extend to me the courtesy of reading mine, why would I read yours? Do it now. No, not interested, and you're really in no place to be giving orders. Fake bitch, you have no respect for your dominant. Go cry into some ice cream, then die in a fire. Go. Whew, all right. Time for the snark to go into full action. Well, that jovial little attitude was clearly covering up your predatory nature. So is this standard practice for you then? Solicit random women online and then rebuff their rejection with vaguely threatening third-grade level insults? You have no impact on me, my mood, or my self-worth. Every little last bit of drivel that you sent me speaks volumes as to who does and who does not deserve respect in this interaction. I can think of at least 2 acronyms for BDSM that would be better suited for you. You bitter, disrespectful, salivating mouth breather. You bottom-dwelling, syphilitic maggot. Your writing shows all the effort of a lazy toddler, and your persistence shows all the undeserved pomp and braggery of a yapping Ventru neonate. Get a grip on that fucking ego. Now be gone with you, or I shall taunt you a second time. So then I blocked him, got a cookie to reward my inner snark, and resumed life as normal. As normal as we possibly could that day. See, the snark hadn't been allowed out in so long that she had no intention of going back in so easily. Along with several other insidious plots, she was quite keen on the idea of constantly carrying a squirt bottle with us that said, "Bad human," so we'd be ready to impart hilarious justice whenever the opportunity presented itself. I tried for hours to convince the snark to go back into her hiding spot. She stomped her foot and whined about how much more fun life would be for us if she were allowed more roaming time, or at the very least, if I were to remove the lock on her dwelling place. So I finally gave in and removed the lock, but she was still not too keen about going back. So then I had an idea. I took her to the most remote forums on the internet to spy on those darkest corners of humanity, until exhausted and pacified, she slipped back inside to wait for another challenger to come our way. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Marlo. All right, last up this evening, we have a samurai that we haven't seen in a while, and we may not be seeing again for a while, hopefully soon. But folks, welcome to the stage one more time, Ms. Veronica Smash.
I forgot to put in a piece of gum, so forgive me while I chew. I always get dry mouth when I talk. This is only my second time on stage here. It's kind of weird. I'm going to kind of rote what I've got, but if you want to heckle me, do it loud so I can hear you, because I can't hear shit up here. So fucking yell at me and that'll be fine. I am going to talk about being agitated sexually. And the other things that have been agitating me. As Alan said, you might not see me for a while. I am actually moving out of this God-forsaken place. I have been here 2.5 years. That would be a half a year too long. It's a wonderful place to visit. But yes, this is a story about labels, stereotypes, paradigms, and problem solving. Also, agitation. It's personal and meaningful to me. It might not be to you, but it might be interesting to you. You might not encounter a lot of people with the issues that I have, especially people that look like me with the issues that I have. Moving here was a huge culture shock. I grew up in a tiny town of 80,000 people, tiny, mid-size, liberal arts college, nice place. I've always felt like a weird fish in that pond, and yet whenever I'd go to a big city, I would still feel like a weird fish in that pond. How could it be possible that I'd go to Chicago and be the best dressed person at the biggest goth club? I'm just like one person, how does that work? Or if I'd go to Atlanta or Miami, people would stare at me and make a scene. I just like, don't they get cable? I don't understand. So I've always felt slightly out of place, but when I moved here to be with a group of freaks, and I thought that I would possibly fit in. I thought that they would accept the outside me, the inside me, and everything would be grand. But instead of moving to the big city, it turns out I moved to the smallest city in the world. Like I said, I've only been here 2.5 years, and I have like 2,000 Facebook friends. Because everybody fucking knows each other, and everybody knows me. It's kind of crazy. I could complain a lot about Omaha, but I'm not going to get into the myriad reasons why I hate this place. I am just going to say that it doesn't have nothing going for it. It's got great food, lots of art, lots of fashion, lots of photography, and the samurai. The samurai of spoken word, who do awesome things for the furthering of the art, for the furthering of charity, and also have been some of the best friends I've made and will keep. But one of the other things Omaha has going for it is the benefits of culture shock. Culture shock can be a wonderful thing. When you are thrown into a new paradigm, you see things in a different light and are forced to reevaluate your own situation. You become aware of the different parameters by which people assess you and the world around them. My biggest problem with Omaha, and also the reason I've been able to figure out so much about myself, is the extremely traditional mindset here. Traditional. I like to say things like it's racist, because it fucking is. And I like to say things like it's stereotypical, because it fucking is. Apparently, I'm not punk enough to go to punk shows, people. I don't know if you've noticed a tattoo on my head, but I'm not welcome at punk shows. So it's incredibly traditional. People like to put you in a box, and they really like to label you and figure out what the fuck you're all about. And it got me thinking, why the fuck are people treating me the way they're treating me? And then the light bulb went off. Face value? I'm just a weird hot chick. But inside, I'm actually a pretty cool dude. And nobody treats me like a fucking cool dude. And it pisses me the fuck off. So I'm gonna talk about that tonight, because it's a night of agitation. And I figured this out about a year ago, and I'm still kind of agitated about it. I've never been what I am on the outside. I'm just not. I've never felt comfortable in my body, and I've spent my whole life making changes outwardly to try and fit in with, the way I should be, the way things should go. It's just not the way it's been. I've always been a person that is very queer and strange and flamboyant and yet masculine and kind of a cross-dressing dude. And that's just the way it is. But I get treated like a stupid bitch because of the way I look. I've outwardly figured out how to embody my own standard of beauty, and that gets used against me. And I don't like it. But this female shell, it's all I've got to work with, and work with it I have. Those of you who know me pretty well might not be so shocked at this information. My ex-husband and all of my best friends, when I have told them, like, hey, this is how it is, they've all gone, oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah, my ex-husband, who is still my best friend in the entire world, like, that's all the affirmation I needed. Thank you, honey. That works for me. I knew I had made the right conclusion to this 32-year-old problem. But those of you who don't know me might be taken aback. I think this crowd might be a little more open-minded than the general populace, but the general populace are the people that ask me stupid questions, or they just want to defy my own assessment, my self-assessment, to my face, as if they fucking know the life I've lived, the decisions I've made, the reasons why I've made them, and the events that led up to figuring this shit the fuck out. They see the hot chick and think, because probably of either the hotness crazy scale, you know, the hotter you are, the crazier you must be. They think I'm crazy, or, you know, they say, you must be confused, or possibly, you know, you just haven't found the right man, or something like that. No, all the dudes I date are women. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. But they ask stupid questions. And sometimes they're asked out of simple curiosity, but a lot of times I can tell they're asked out of malice. They are asked because they want me, or they want to like pick apart my logic and see a flaw in it, and they want to put me in that little box where they think I should go, something that's more regularly used than transgendered or whatever. And yeah, when they ask these questions, I have had to think about the answers and think about, like, of course, this just makes so much innate sense to me, but being the self-assessing person that I am, I figured that shit out. So this is like the quick and dirty stage version of some of these things. I've written this out long form. It just came out of me one day and it's like 13 pages, so I ain't gonna read that shit. The first stupid question. Well, how do you know? How don't you know? I have felt different my entire life. It's possibly the dumbest question you could ask. Like, what am I gonna say? I took a stab in the dark? Like, I just wanted to? Yeah, no. I've always known. I just didn't have the framework or the vocabulary to express that for a while, and even then when I did, I realized this is a hard road to hoe. Maybe I don't want to be this way. Maybe I can just, you know, put it back inside or say I'm a feminist, which I'm not. I'm kind of a misogynist, actually. So, you know, I just know. It was years that people treated me strangely because I communicate like a man, I act like a man, I relate like a man, albeit one that was taught to emote because I was acculturated as a girl. And even when I do emote, my emotions are frustratingly logical, just like a dude. I know, I am the dude in every relationship because I'm like, why are you mad? I just don't get it. But yeah, I've never understood girls. I've never related to them, not even a little bit. I've always been drawn to the company of guys and guy things. When I was a kid, my mom bought me like 20 Barbies, and if I told you how I played with them, you would be disgusted. Possibly turned on, but... Yeah, just, I didn't realize that Skipper was Barbie's daughter, or somehow related to Barbie, but that's a whole other story. I always preferred catching snakes and frogs and building shit with Legos or taking apart clocks and calculators to fucking sleepovers where you braid each other's hair. It just didn't appeal to me. I was this very serious and intellectual kid, and even though that set me apart enough, it wasn't the whole story. From an early age, like preschool, I didn't understand why I had to do shit like go to ballet lessons, while my brother got to climb trees and learn how to change a flat tire. It just didn't seem fair to me. Why couldn't I kiss girls at sleepovers without them calling me up the next day and telling me they hated me? 3 times. It happened 3 times before I learned my lesson that I couldn't just kiss girls at sleepovers. Why couldn't I hang out with boys and do all the shit that boys do without being treated like the token tag-along or the drag or whatever? I wasn't dainty, but people were treating me like I was dainty physically and mentally. As I grew up, my interest continued to trend towards guy things. I snuck my dad's Old Spice instead of using my secret powder shit-smelling deodorant that I didn't like. I sang tenor in high school until I was taught to use my falsetto. I have like a break in my range. I appreciate a beautiful machine. I love cars, I love motorcycles, I love everything about them. I love the design, I love the engines, the power. I just don't like the smell of axle grease. Yes, I've tuned a ring gear. Like I said, I communicate like a guy. I like working out and being aggressive. I tried roller derby. That worked out for a while until I realized that I was hanging out with a bunch of fucking women, and that's not really what I wanted to do. So lately I've gotten into like MMA and bodybuilding. It's been a lot better for me. I like blood and scars. I tell vomit stories. Speaking of the shit story Rocco told earlier, they have the thinnest toilet paper in the world here in the bathrooms. Wonderful for earplugs, not so great for shitting in public.
Yeah, I know, I experienced that earlier.
There you go, just an FYI. Well, it is a music venue, it's great for earplugs. I do love women. They are the beguiling and unattainable objects of my desire. They are my muses. I love art and fashion. You know, they fascinate and perplex me, and they inspire me. The reason that I've become a hot chick and a good model is because I've been emulating the beauty that I have always admired in them. I also relate like a good old boy. I'm a punch in the arm kind of guy. I tell jokes. I give people shit like they don't expect scathing insults coming from a girl, and it's like, what? Give it back. Don't fucking wither in front of me. But yeah, so I just have always related more to that side of things and felt like that side of things. And while some girls do, you know, I bet to you that girls can describe what makes them quintessentially female. I can't. I've got no fucking clue what it means to be female other than what I have spent my entire life perfecting on the outside. When I finally admitted to myself that I was transgendered, I started doing research, and I found that I've already done a lot of the things that trans people do. I changed my name, albeit from one girl's name to another. I created a new persona, something I felt more comfortable in. And it turns out that my name Veronica also has a badass male shortening. Yes, when I finally transition, I will be Vern. Vern Smash. Won't be that hard. I might not even change my driver's license because Veronica's got a pretty awesome picture on it. But I've also been taking different hormones. I don't shoot testosterone, but I've been taking estrogen blockers and testosterone boosters. Unlike what most people told me would happen, I'd become even more super sexual and super aggressive. That has not happened. My sex drive went from an over-aggressive, like level 10, down to a very nice level 7. It's so nice to not have to whack off 5 times a day anymore. I'm serious. Even my boyfriend was surprised. He was like, really? I was like, yeah. No, testosterone leveled me out. It took my anxiety down a notch. It just makes me feel more like myself. Makes me feel better. Much as the people, like I know a lot of dudes who are on estrogen and they say the same thing. So I figured out this 32-year puzzle, and all it took was a stupid fucking backwards traditional society and a little hormone reinforcement to do it. Another one of the stupid questions I get, but you date guys. Really? Is sexuality that fucking black and white that I can't be a guy who dates guys? It was actually a matter of convenience. Who you're attracted to has nothing to do with gender or sex or whatever the fuck. Guys are easy. That's why I started dating guys. I'm a girl on the outside, and I grew up knowing that girls are supposed to date guys. I was over-sexualized as a child. My mother, trying to do the right thing by educating me, was so perversely specific about it at a very early age that I grew up thinking about sex. And as I said, I was a very intellectual and serious kid. So all I wanted to do was be taken seriously by adults. And I thought, that's the one thing that separates me from adults, is sex. So I set out at about 6 years old to fucking have sex. And guess what? None of the other kids in the grade school cared about it. I was the only fucking 6-year-old thinking about sex. The girls weren't interested, the guys weren't interested, no matter how many explicit notes I wrote them about all the stuff I knew how to do. No one was interested about sex. I was a very tall and large girl as a youth, and No one was really interested in me, especially not as a tomboy. So I kind of gave up on it in grade school. And when middle school rolled around, I realized it's probably going to be easier with guys. I tried with girls, even at a very early age. Did not work out. So the guys kind of happened as a matter of convenience. I remember seeing a Hustler for the first time when I was 8. Not like a pimp yo, but like the Hustler magazine. And it was like fireworks went off in my fucking head. I was like, this is what I want. Bitches in high heels, spread eagle for me. I was fucking 8 years old. But you can't get that when you're 8. And I remember having an argument with my brother. And we were looking at this girl in a mall. I thought it was a girl. He thought it was a girl. But I was like, but it kind of looks like a guy. Maybe you're gay, bro. And he was like, no, it has to be a girl because I like it. And I remember thinking at 10 years old, what the fuck does it matter? If you like that person, who cares if it's a guy or a girl? So that's kind of the tack I took going through life. When I was about 11, the other kids started to catch up, and I realized that I had to start acting a little more female in order to accomplish this goal of mine of having sex and finally being an adult. So I did little things to feminize myself. You know, I did my hair. I had the mall bangs, because this was 1991, don't judge. I'm old. And I always hated like tennis shoes, athletic shoes, so I wore girly shoes. And being a ballerina from a young age, I realized that girls wore makeup. So like in 5th grade, I started wearing very heavy makeup. Dark eyeliner, mascara, dark lipstick. I wore it like a fucking mask, but also like an advertisement to the world. Hey, I am a girl. I was trying really fucking hard. And finally, it kind of worked, you know? I eventually got a guy, and adults didn't treat me any differently, and I was like left to be a frustrated lesbian. I've always described myself as a frustrated lesbian. I am 90% physically attracted to girls and 90% mentally attracted to guys. If that doesn't say transgender, I don't know what does. But yeah, social and biological convenience. I started being attracted to very feminine guys before I kind of found muscular, hairy, capable types. And I started to be attracted to them, I realized, because they embodied what I wanted to be. Sex with the lights on and sex with drugs really helps that experience of putting yourself in the other person's body and railing that hot chick like you have always fucking wanted to, let me tell you. Indeed. And I've been married, but I don't know if I'm capable of a normal relationship with a guy. I've never had that yin-yang, you complete me experience. It's always like two best friends, and it works until it doesn't. And, you know, if I had been acculturated as a boy and I learned to talk to people and relate to people as a man would, it might be different, but it's not. Another stupid question. You don't want kids? Hell no, I don't want kids. What a fucking Omaha question to ask me. It's like, if you're not fucking 25 and paired up with, you know, one on the couch and another one in the oven, there must be something wrong with you, right? No, I've never wanted kids. My husband didn't want kids. I know plenty of fucking people that don't want kids. Don't ask transgender people about kids. Some of them want kids. It's whatever. People say, you don't look like a man. You don't have man's mannerisms. I totally do, actually. When I sit on a couch, I sit like this. I kind of hunch. I might not dress like a man, but that is something quite different. I've acquired the skills of learning how to be a hot chick. I always felt out of place as a super chunky, tall kid. I was the tallest kid in my school in I was the tallest person in my school in 5th grade. I was taller than all the teachers, even the dude. And it wasn't until about middle school when I was a tomboy and really wanted to, a tomboy wearing makeup, and really wanted to have sex that I felt these expectations of being female upon me. I never felt the need to dress like a girl when I was younger. My fashion, however, when I had to dress like a girl, always skewed towards the flamboyant. My mom told me that I dressed like Elton John when I was like 6. I would go into her closets and find these awful, awful ensembles that I thought were like super different and cool. And I really liked them. And, you know, sometimes like 6 months later, she'd be like, oh my God, I saw Bruce Springsteen's wife wearing the same thing on CNN. I'd be like, yeah, bitch, I know what I'm talking about. And I didn't, you know, they wouldn't let me dress that way. They would dress me in plain Laura Jane clothes and would not like my colorful and unique choices. When I did get to dress up how I wanted, however, when we went shopping and I bought a dress and I thought I looked cool, I think it was different than most girls experience. I got a weird, comfortable rush. Having dated a number of cross-dressers in my time, I've found out this is exactly what they experience when they dress up. They feel at home, they feel good, they feel excited to look like that. So I'm a cross-dressing dude, BFD. And, you know, as I mentioned the makeup, it really was a mask for me, a safety blanket, kind of a, you know, don't look at the boxers hanging out of my tomboy pants. Don't look at me staring at your boobs. I'm totally a girl, I swear to God. I'm wearing makeup. I kind of noticed that I was becoming more comfortable with my situation and my inward-outward when I stopped wearing it so much, which happened long after my first stint in college. And even now, today, on the job, whatever, I don't wear that much makeup. It's not a big deal to me, and that was kind of a big sign of being comfortable with myself. So yeah, the tomboy with the heart of gold never gets the guy. All of the teen novels and movies have this trope. The cheerleader always wins out. I probably would have rather fought with the cheerleader for the guy, but, you know. So when I got to college, I decided to dress like a girl full time. And it served me well. I wore layers and layers and layers of vintage lingerie, a la Madonna, less slutty. And because of the heavy makeup, people started to call me goth. I didn't know what goth was, and I thought it was funny because my hair was this color even 10 years ago. So it's like, sure, whatever, call me goth. You know, the lingerie was flattering to my larger figure, and it was very comfortable. I would probably wear a kilt today if I was a dude. Actually, I used to have a kilt. I got too skinny for it, had to give it away. Those things are fucking hard to mend. But when I realized what feminine wiles were, I realized they worked, and I started to use them. I kind of became, paradoxically, the Uber woman when I started stripping. Stripping, again, was a matter of convenience for me. It's like, I've got dance training. I've got an awesome wardrobe full of high heels and corsets and shit that I can use, and I'm very comfortable with being naked, so why not strip? Two of the things I realized, you have to shave a lot as a stripper. And you get your motherfucking period. So two of the things I did that paradoxically let me forget about being a woman, but also made me more uber feminine, was I got laser hair removal, and I went on the Depo shot. Laser hair removal meant I didn't have to spend 30 minutes a day. My legs, they go up to here. It takes forever to shave these fuckers, and I didn't want to think about it, and I didn't want people to fucking comment on it when I didn't feel like shaving my legs. So, laser hair removal, problem solved, don't have to think about it. Depo shot, no fucking period. Let me tell you what, I had spent my entire life up to that point feeling like a stupid bitch every time I had to go into the aisle at the store. Are these tampons gonna do it? And then you look at the always, always, you're always gonna be a stupid woman. You're always gonna bleed 25% of the time. This is always going to bother you. No, there's a solution, the Depo shot. If you hate your period, ladies, it's fucking fabulous. I didn't have to think about it anymore. But it allowed me to strip more often and to be a little bit freer with myself, but it was still the best fucking way ever to get some peace of mind for me. And then I lost the bunch of weight that I was carrying around. Paradoxically, losing weight made people stop commenting on my appearance so much. It also meant that I got sexual attention without having to dress slutty. So it was easier to get the company of guys both sexually and just on a friend basis. In my mid-20s, this was the first time in my life that I did not feel like a stupid girl, and I was a hotter girl than I had ever been. Very strange and paradoxical, and that's one of the things that people ask me about because it just doesn't seem to make sense. But that's just the way it is. I'm the hot girl that I'd like to fuck, and I've worked really hard to do that. People also say to me, oh, you can't be a dude, you're such a pretty girl. Yeah, RuPaul is also a really pretty girl. I don't see what that has to do with it.
2 words, David Bowie.
David Bowie is also a pretty girl. He is a pretty man. Another stupid question, why don't you cross-dress? I do believe I just spent the majority of this telling you about all the effort it has taken me to learn how to be comfortable and relate to society, to learn how to do this shit. I have 1,000 pairs of shoes and more clothes than I'd care to admit. And why don't I cross-dress? First of all, I think I make a really silly-looking man. I am much like Alan Wiggs, very tall with very long legs.
It's okay, I'm a pretty silly-looking man.
No, it's all right. You're also my best friend, so I can rag on you. It's cool. No, I have small hands, I have a small head. The first and second time I've attempted to cross-dress, I had the weight on me, and the extra fat on my face made my features even more feminine. And I just thought I looked like a creepy motherfucker. It didn't work out for me. And I was like, ugh, who would wanna be with this? So I often say I would if I had like a Lego man body that you could just like put my head on a different body and I could be a dude one day and I could be a hot chick the next day. Or if I had like a body stamp machine that would give me muscles until they were very inconvenient for when I wanted to pick up a guy. But, you know, I don't have those things. Instead, I have fucking, let's see, when did I start trying to be a hot girl? At about 18. So I have 10, I'm really bad at math, what, like 15 years? Let's call it 15 years of fucking skills and lessons that I have learned to be the person I am now. And I'm not just gonna throw that away because I should, because people think I should look like a man, because I act like a man. One day, I might. Cross-dress, that is. It's also been empirically proven, at least through Facebook likes, that I am a hot girl. You know, I don't feel like a hot girl. I see pictures of myself and I think, I can't believe that's me, but obviously it's me and people like the pictures, and there you go. Being a hot girl works well. I don't really have to pay for dinner or drinks that often. I get people to help me move. It's kind of nice. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about people in Madison. I flirted with someone on OkCupid for, not someone, I flirted with like 6 people on OkCupid for 3 weeks. I haven't had to pay for a single meal up in Wisconsin, and they come and help me move. It's so great. But,
1,000 pairs of shoes for 9 hours.
9 hours, oh, that's not gonna be fun. But it's nice and easy to be a hot girl, except for when it comes to being treated like a stupid bitch by a closed-minded society of stereotype slingers. It's all I've got, though, and I've worked hard for it. Having spent 32 years not feeling okay in my body, what's a few more to get a return on investment, you know? I don't really feel like I should cross-dress until this doesn't serve me anymore. And I've gotten to the point of being a girl habitually. I don't have to think about it. You know, permanent changes that I've made and the amount of stuff I've amassed makes that incredibly easy. So I'm pretty low maintenance, and I don't think I'm gonna suddenly redon the flannels and camel pants of my middle school youth just because other people feel like my outsides need to match my insides. The last question people ask me, and this is the one that makes me feel the worst: why am I not transitioning? I don't want to yet. And I feel really bad about that. I have a number of friends going through this arduous, painful, awkward, terrible process. And I wish I could be there like right along with them to be like, solidarity, I'll do it too. But I don't really want to, especially for female to male transitions. The technology, not quite there yet. And I've got to admit, I'm kind of a size queen. I don't want something that doesn't work, or that's that big. But yeah, there's, financial reasons I don't want to transition yet. There's family reasons, although most of the people that matter to me are dead. But the process sucks. It's hard, tedious, expensive, socially unacceptable, and it's just taking a really big step. A part of me really wants to transition. It wants to want to transition. And one day, if the technology gets there, I will be Vern, the awesome, muscular, super great mustache sportin', pompadour wearing grease monkey that I have always felt like on the inside. At this point, though, I'm stuck with what I've got. I think I have done my own transition by working within my limitations and my paradigms, like any good artist, to make something better than I could have with full liberty. I've been reveling in the accomplishment of making my outside look exactly like I've wanted it. I've been doing the best I can with what I've got, and it's kind of a new and overwhelming feeling in the last couple of years that I've decided to celebrate being this girl while I can. The self-esteem issues that come with being queer and different are incredibly crippling. You question everything. You question yourself. You question society. I spent my whole life overcoming this awkwardness, inside and out, and looking for something in myself to value. Like Alan said, you can't compare yourself to other people. You've got your accomplishments. And I've never felt at home in my skin, but now I realize I have a lot to be proud of, inside and out. It's not superficial. It's my creation. I made this. I work hard for this. I do fucking 100 squats a day for this. And I can lift a lot, but it's whatever. I finally fucking love it, whether it matches my insides or not. And the one thing I will take away from this city was learning to love myself. So thank you guys all for coming out. I appreciate you listening to me ramble. And you can friend me on Facebook. If anyone wants to ask me stupid questions, I'm actually not that annoyed, and I'll answer them.
Okay, and that kind of wraps the show. But before we go, first of all, get drunk and be somebody. See that gentleman over there? Get the fuck out of him. Second of all, if you still have some money after that, there is a black box over there where we will be taking donations to the American Cancer Society. So if you could throw a couple of dollars in there, that'd be wonderful. Right next to that box, there is a collection of business cards from the family. No, she's not looking for a date, but it does have the address for her blog on there, which is totally well worth reading for those of you who heard her talking earlier. Thank you so much for coming out this evening. We really appreciate the support. It's been a great evening. Good night.